Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be doing my March reading wrap up. Now, I know like literally 2 videos ago I posted my February reading wrap up. I haven't really posted a lot of YouTube videos in March. March was a month, it really was. I got summoned for jury duty. I've been so busy. I got asked to be my sister's maid of honor for her wedding, which is really fun and exciting, but it's taken a lot of my weekends going dress shopping with her and going to dinners and things like this. I haven't had a whole lot of time to film. I think March I also was kind of in a reading slump because of some of the books that I'm going to talk about in this video. We're just gonna get into it and have a fresh start for April. I'm really hoping April is a come up month of some good reads. I feel like my taste in genres is changing. I'm more in like a literary fiction era, so I don't know, we'll see. I did read 11 books this month. I'm only going to be talking about 10 of them. One of them is an SMP book, so I'm not going to be talking about that in this video or probably at all in any of my future videos. Getting into the books that I read. The first book is a audiobook that I listened to and I absolutely loved this book. I started March on such a high note and then it was just all downhill from there. I listened to The Last Word by Taylor Adams. This book I feel like had its moment on BookTube and everyone read it and whatever and then they all moved on from it. This is a book about our main character leaves a 1-star review of a book that they read that is just god awful. The book is so bad. The author basically asks them like, hey, this is my livelihood, can you please remove the review? This really is damaging and it affects me. And obviously book readers know you are entitled to your own opinion about fiction or non-fiction. You know, everyone has different tastes in books, so they basically say, no, I'm not going to remove the review. And then the author decides to hunt them down. Now, did I guess how this book ends? Yes, but there are so many like twists and turns. I think listening to it as an audiobook really made my experience for it so much better. I really loved this book. I'm pretty sure I listened to it in one day. I loved that book. Really good. Really glad that I got that. Getting into the first book that I actually read this month. The first actual book that I read this month was All About Love by Bell Hooks. Now, I had an era of my life where I loved reading books about this. I loved reading books about love and just fiction works, non-fiction works that are similar to this. I've been recommended this book a ton of times. I've seen it all over TikTok and I did not like this. I gave it a 1 out of 5. It felt like I was being talked down to while reading this book. It felt like the author was very much not accepting nuance and it was their way or the highway, and I did not like that. And I honestly don't even know if I even finished this book. I didn't write that. Usually when I DNF books in Goodreads, I'll put in the review that I DNF'd it at a certain page, and I did not put that, but I don't remember anything about this book. I just remember not enjoying it. So yeah, I don't think I would recommend this. If you guys want a video about books that are similar to this that I would recommend, let me know and I will do that, because I have plenty of books that, you know, if you're going through a breakup or if you're just in like a self-help book era, I have a ton of books that I read when I was in that era and that I loved and that feel like actually accepting and growth versus someone who is trying to act like they know everything and is talking down to you. So yeah, I just didn't like that book. Moving on. Then I read a genre that I don't really have a lot of experience with and I did a video on it. It was this video. I read dark romances for a week. It was a little bit less than a week, but I read these 3 books. So I read Does It Hurt by H.D. Carlton, I read Butcher and Blackbird by Brynne Weaver, and then I read Broken Vow by Sophie Lark. So first off, let's talk about Does It Hurt by H.D. Carlton. This is the author of I think it's called The Cat and Mouse Duet, Haunting and Hunting Adeline. Don't know if that's out of order. I've never read the books. And with me reading this book, I never will read those books. There are certain things in dark romances that I can't forgive, I can't forget, and this just was so beyond crossing the line of things that are okay. I did not like this book at all. I don't think I will read anything that this author puts out in the future. It's just my own personal taste. I also gave this book a 1 out of 5. This is about our main character who is in the beginning of the book running away from something that you don't know, but they're a fugitive on the run and they have to steal identities of people to survive, obviously like getting credit cards, things like that to survive. They have a one-night stand with our male main character. They end up stealing his identity and he finds out. The scene that got me to like even know about this book was there is a scene where he literally like makes her bleed and shoves her head in shark infested water, and she's like about to get her head bitten off by a shark. And that's like literally within the first 100 pages of the book, and then you just move on. And then there's this very big plot of they get stranded on an island and you can't really trust the person that's on the island with them. I did enjoy that part of the book, but everything else about the book I did not like. I don't like this book. I wouldn't really recommend it. There are so many other dark romances that I think are a lot better, or seemingly are a lot better, because I don't have a lot of experience with them. And then Butcher and Blackbird. So this is another very popular book talk book. This is about two serial killers who basically kill really bad people. This book was very good, very interesting. It is very fast paced. I really liked the two main characters in this book. I thought the love story was really good. It is a very kind of gory, gruesome book because obviously it's about two serial killers, and this author does not shy away from the details of that. Look into trigger warnings if you are going to read this. But yeah, I would recommend this. I gave this book a 4 out of 5 star, and thinking back on it, I feel like the rating still stands. And then the last dark romance that I read for that video was Broken Vow by Sophie Lark. Now this is book 5. Yes, book 5 of the Brutal Birthright series, which is a mafia series. It's a interconnected standalone series. I've not read any of the other books. I really enjoyed this book and I kind of want to go back and read the other ones. This is about Riona and what is the guy's name again? Riona and Raylan. Yeah. And Riona is a part of this family in Chicago, and she ends up getting a hit put out on her. So there's this person who's trying to kill her, and in order to be safe, she has to get a bodyguard who is our male main character, and she doesn't really like him. He's this like little country boy. You just follow them. I really enjoyed this book. I really liked the writing. I also think that this cover is stunning. It's a really beautiful copy of the book. I gave this book a 3.75. I really enjoyed the mafia-esque-ness of the book. I didn't necessarily care for the cowboy part of the book, which is interesting because when I bought this book, I bought it because I wanted to read more cowboy romance books. I think I'm gonna read some of the rest of the series just to see if it's more mafia-ness. I can't speak today. I don't know what's going on. The rest of the books that I read in March are kind of doozies. So we're just gonna talk about them together. So first off, Bunny by Mona Awad. Now, this is a book that I went into it not really knowing anything about the book. I know that this is a very popular book talk book. I know that people either really like this book, really hate this book, and I know that a lot of people say that reading this book feels like a fever dream. I read it and I just could not care. And I think what I've realized is I do not like dark academia books. I don't know if this is technically a dark academia book. From my understanding, this is actually a horror. I don't know. I don't know. DNF'd this book on like page 100 or something. I could not care. I could not care about this book, and I did not like the writing. I really want to try reading Rouge by Mona Awad. I don't know if you've read that book. If you think that I would like it, let me know. Or if you think because I didn't like Bunny that I wouldn't like Rouge, also let me know. But yeah, that was a really disappointing DNF, and this is kind of where the slump started to happen. The next book that I read is House of Pounding Hearts. This book I read while I was in jury duty, so I do not really remember a lot about this book because I was literally like in the courthouse, like in the deliberation room reading this while we were waiting to go back to the case, and then I was so preoccupied with what was going on that it's a long story. Anyways, this is book 2 of the Kingdom of Crows series. Book 1 is House of Beating Wings, I want to say. And I read it in January of last year. And I really liked that book. I gave it a 5 star. So I ended up getting this book. And then I just couldn't get into it when I started reading it. The first book, I don't really remember a full lot about, which is partly why I think I was having such a hard time reading this book. I read all of this book. I think I skimmed the last part of this book, but I'm not going to continue on with the series because I don't care. I think I'm kind of like over fantasy again. I don't know what's going on with my book taste. My whole bookshelf behind me is literally like all fantasy books, and like I said in the beginning of this video, I think I'm in my literary fiction era. I don't care about fantasy. I don't want to read it, which is really upsetting because there are so many good sounding fantasy books right now that I would like to read, but just every time that I pick up a fantasy book, I'm like, I don't care about this. Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I totally missed a book that I read this month because I read it on my Kindle from the library. I read Good Bad Girl by Alice Feeney, and I read this after I read Broken Vow, in between this and Bunny. This was actually the book that kind of started my downfall of I hate every book that I'm reading. I'm literally going to read the synopsis of what this book is on Goodreads because it's a thriller and I don't want to spoil anything. So it says, sometimes bad things happen to good people, so good people have to do bad things. Our Queen of Twists best-selling author of Daisy Darker and Rock, Paper, Scissors, Alice Feeney, which, side note, I've not liked a single Alice Feeney book that I've read so far, which is really upsetting because I feel like a lot of people love her books. I don't think her books are for me. She returns with another thrilling mystery filled with drama and her trademark surprises. 20 years after a baby is stolen from a stroller, a woman is murdered in a care home. The two crimes are somehow linked, and a good bad girl may be the key to discovering the truth. Edith may have been tricked into a nursing home, but at 80 years young, she's planning her escape. Patience works there, cleaning messes and bonding with Edith. Patience is lying to Edith about almost everything. Edith's own daughter, Cleo, won't speak to her, and somehow someone new is about to knock on Cleo's door, and their intentions aren't good. With every reason to distrust each other, the women must solve a mystery with 3 suspects, 2 murders, and 1 victim. If they do, they might just find out about what happened to the baby who disappeared, the mother who lost her, and the connections that bind them. Sounds super interesting, right? Wrong. I didn't like this book. I gave it a 1 star. I don't know what it is about Alice Feeney's writing. I don't like it. I have a problem with thriller books where I love a good plot twist. I want twists and turns. I don't want to really know what's going on in the book. But if it's happening to the point where the book just feels unrealistic, I start to really despise it and I start to hate it. And also, I don't think I like her writing, so I don't know. But that was another book that I read this month that I hated. This is like genuinely the worst reading month that I've had. Yep. Then I read Heartbreak for Hire by Sonia Hartle. This is about our main character who works for this agency where basically women can get in contact with them and basically seek revenge. Hey, why do I keep saying the word basically? They can seek revenge on men who have done them wrong, whether it's love-wise, career-wise, anything. And so she goes on this one case and meets our male main character, but then he ends up getting hired by the firm. You follow them. She has to teach him what she knows. She has to basically train him into the job. Kind of enemies to lovers-esque. I didn't really care for this book. Could not care less about this book. Genuinely, I also don't really remember anything about this book. Is it because the book is bad? Probably not. I'm in the height of a reading slump when I read this book. I read it, I listened to a little bit of it on audiobook, and I didn't care. I didn't feel the chemistry. I could care less about the plot. It was whatever. It was a rom-com. I'm not gonna remember it. Moving on. And then the last book that I read this month, I actually finished yesterday, and this is The Retreat by Sarah Pierce. This book is technically in the same world and series of The Sanatorium, which is, I didn't read that book, so I can't tell you what that book's about. But in the beginning of this book, you do read something that basically spoils that first book. So if you are wanting to read this book and you haven't read that book and you do want to read that book, definitely read them in order. I don't think I'm ever going to go back to that book, so I just had this on my shelf and I really wanted to read it and get it off my shelf. I gave it a 3 star. I really liked the ending, but the first, I want to say 45 to 50% of the book, I don't care. I didn't care. None of the characters' names were sticking with me. None of the plot lines and the relationship lines were sticking with me. So once we got to the plot twists that were happening at the end, I was kind of like, okay, I know I'm supposed to be having these huge reactions because I'm supposed to know the relationships between these different characters, but I don't, so I don't care. My reading month was so bad this month, but yeah, I finished this book. I gave it a 3 out of 5. It was all right. So those were all of the books that I read in March. I feel like March was very much a month of reading but not actually comprehending or remembering anything that I was reading, and it was so frustrating. I wouldn't say I'm out of my reading slump right now, but I'm working towards getting out of it. So hopefully April will be a lot better. I'm right now working on some videos, so I'm hoping to have a ton of uploads in April. I'm so sorry about the lack of uploads in March, but thank you for sticking around and staying tuned for my uploads. But yeah, I will see you in my next video. Thank you for watching. If you're not already subscribed, make sure to subscribe and give this video a thumbs up, and I will see you in my next video.